Human medic gave her last adrenaline shot to the weak and dying alien dragon. Beginning. The storm over Dravaris 9 had a way of clawing at the nerves of anyone unlucky enough to be stationed there. Human outposts were scattered across the jagged obsidian terrain, and between the black cliffs and sulfur winds, the planet always felt like it wanted you gone. The storms didn't help. Violent, copper-hued tempests that shook buildings and shorted out scanners. Lieutenant Kayla Reese, combat medic of the United Terran Expeditionary Corps, leaned against the steel wall of the forward medical bunker and watched lightning fracture the horizon. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from exhaustion. Supplies were low, men were restless, and she'd already lost 3 patients that week. She carried only 1 vial of adrenaline serum left in her kit, a powerful synthetic meant for extreme cardiac trauma. 1 vial, 1 last chance. Her commander had been clear. Save it for one of our own. The alien skirmishes had been brutal. Dravarian resistance fighters, twisted reptilian forms with wings like shredded sails, had attacked repeatedly. Official orders said they were hostile, unworthy of medical aid. Kayla wasn't so sure. Her uncertainty grew the night. She heard the cry. It wasn't human. It was low, guttural, yet aching in a way that twisted her stomach. She slipped on her field respirator, grabbed her med pack, and moved out into the storm. Dust stung her eyes as she navigated the jagged ravine behind the outpost. That's where she saw it. Collapsed against the rocks, scales scorched from plasma burns, 1 wing broken and limp. A Dravarian dragon, barely breathing. Her pulse quickened. This wasn't one of the monstrous adults they fought in the skies, but a younger one. Still massive compared to a human, but frail, ribs showing through cracked obsidian scales. Its breaths came shallow, rattling, as though the storm itself had sucked the life from it. Kayla's training screamed leave it. The thing was an enemy. Its kind had killed humans. But the medic inside her, the part that had sworn an oath to preserve life, looked past the war and saw a patient. She pressed her hand to its chest. The rhythm was faint, erratic. Its body trembled, as if fighting to cling to existence. The burns, the trauma, without help, it would be dead in minutes. She looked down at her kit. Her last vial, the adrenaline shot. If she used it, she'd have nothing left for her squad mates. Nothing if another human soldier went down tomorrow. Her commander would call her a traitor. But as she looked into the alien's eyes, dim golden orbs clouded with pain, Kayla felt something stir. Not hate, not threat, just need. She loaded the injector. I don't know if this will even work on you, she whispered through the storm. But if you're going to die, it won't be alone. With steady hands, Kayla pressed the injector against the alien's chest and pushed the plunger. The serum hissed. For a moment, nothing. Then the dragon's body convulsed. A shudder ran through its frame, eyes snapping open wider. The heartbeat under her palm surged, stronger, steadier. Its claws flexed against the ground, scraping sparks from the stone. Kayla exhaled, realizing only then how hard she'd been holding her breath. The dragon was alive, and she had just given everything to save it. For the next 2 days, Kayla kept the dragon hidden in the ravine. She dressed its burns with what little antiseptic she had, tore strips from her own bedding to bind the wing. The dragon didn't speak, at least not in any language she understood, but its eyes followed her, sometimes narrowing in suspicion, other times softening with something like gratitude. It ate sparingly, mostly nutrient rations she smuggled out of the mess hall. Kayla doubted the dry human food was suited for it, but the dragon swallowed without complaint. On the 3rd morning, she arrived to find the creature trying to rise. Its wings twitched painfully, but its legs held, trembling. The stormlight glinted across its scales as it looked down at her, towering now, no longer just a broken heap. Kayla took a cautious step back. The dragon lowered its head, almost bowing, before rumbling a sound from its chest. It wasn't just a growl, it was a word, broken, rough, but unmistakable. Human save. Kayla froze. You speak? It tilted its head, as if searching for words in a half-forgotten lexicon. Few words. Learn from your kind. You gave life. Her throat tightened. She hadn't expected this. Communication, acknowledgement. She wanted to ask 1,000 questions. But before she could, the dragon's gaze shifted upward, toward the cliffs. A sound rose above the storm. The deep hum of Terran patrol craft engines. Kayla swore under her breath. If the others found it here, they'd kill it without hesitation. She motioned for the dragon to stay down, to stay quiet. It obeyed, curling back in the shadows as 2 patrol drones swept overhead, scanners slicing through the storm haze. When they passed, Kayla slumped against a rock. You can't stay here, she muttered. They'll find you. The dragon blinked slowly. Then where? It was a question she didn't want to answer. She had nowhere to take it. No plan beyond the moment she'd plunged at Injector. But she knew one thing. She couldn't let it die. That night, Kayla forged a lie. She told her squad she was running inventory checks in the abandoned supply caves. In truth, she led the dragon through narrow tunnels toward the mountain ridge. The journey was brutal. Her lungs burned from the sulfur air. Her legs ached from the weight of her pack. But the dragon endured worse, limping, stumbling, yet never collapsing. When they reached a hidden cavern overlooking the valley, Kayla helped it settle. She lit a small thermal lantern and pressed her hand against its scales. You'll be safe here. For a while, the dragon studied her in silence, then asked, haltingly, Why? She frowned. Why what? Why give light to enemy? Kayla opened her mouth, then closed it again. She thought of the men she'd failed to save. She thought of the oath she'd taken at the academy. And she thought of the moment when she'd seen nothing but pain in its eyes. Because no one deserves to die alone, she whispered. The dragon rumbled deep in its chest, a sound she decided wasn't a growl, but something closer to a sigh. Name, it asked. Kayla. The dragon's eyes gleamed faintly. I am Varith. For the first time, she smiled. Days bled into weeks. Kayla's double life grew heavier. Tending soldiers by day, tending Varith by night. She watched his strength return to him, as scales healed and wings stretched wider. He told her fragments of his people's history in broken words. How Dervarians had once ruled the skies, how Terran colonization had shattered their nests and poisoned their lands. Kayla listened, torn. She had been raised on stories of Dervarian savagery. Yet here was one, scarred, weary, but alive, telling her truths that didn't fit the neat lines of propaganda. They grew, not friends, perhaps, but allies bound by something stronger than orders. By choice, by survival. But choices rarely went unnoticed. One evening, as Kayla returned to camp, she found her commander waiting in her quarters. A hard-eyed man named Major Strass. He held up an empty vial. The adrenaline injector she thought lost in the storm. Care to explain, Lieutenant? Her heart stopped. You had one dose left, Strass continued coldly. It's gone, and I've noticed you slipping off base during storms. If I didn't know better, I'd say you were hiding something. Kayla fought to steady her voice. With respect, sir, I use it on a soldier in need. Which soldier? She had no answer. Strass narrowed his eyes. If you're lying, I'll find out. And if I discover you've been aiding the enemy, he leaned closer, voice a whisper of steel. It'll be the end of you, Reese. Ending. The warning left Kayla shaken. For the first time, she considered abandoning Varith. Walking away before her secret doomed them both. Yet when she returned to the cabin that night, she saw him stretching his wings, stronger than ever, golden eyes alight with quiet determination. You fear, Varith said softly. Kayla sank to the ground. They know something's wrong. If they find you, he lowered his massive head beside her. Then we run. Run where? There's nowhere left for you. Varith was silent a long time before he spoke again. There's place. Hidden Valley. My kin, few remain. If I reach them, we rise again. Hope. Fragile, dangerous, but real. That night, Kayla made her choice. She stole rations, power cells, a navigation beacon. And at dawn, under cover of storm, she led Varith out of the cavern. But Strass was waiting. Soldiers surrounded them at the ridge, rifles raised. Strass stepped forward, lips curling. So it's true. You betrayed your species for a beast. Kayla stood firm, though her heart pounded. He's not a beast. He's alive. He deserves to live. Strass raised his pistol. Then you'll die with him. The shot never came. Varith roared, a thunderclap that shook the ground. His wings snapped wide, scattering soldiers like leaves. Plasma fire erupted, searing the rocks. But Kayla clung to his back as he launched skyward. The storm swallowed them whole. They flew through chaos, lightning crackling around them, bolts grazing scales, Kayla's hands blistering against the harness she tied. But Varith climbed higher, faster, until at last the clouds broke and starlight spread across the sky. Kayla laughed through tears. She had no idea where the hidden valley was, or if they'd survived the journey. But in that moment, she knew she'd made the only choice she could. The oath of a medic wasn't to a flag. It wasn't to a uniform. It was to life. And as Varith's golden eyes shone against the stars, Kayla realized she hadn't just saved him. Together, they had saved each other.